The Spanish-American War of 1898, a turning point in American history. Introduction. In 1898, a brief but consequential war changed the trajectory of global power and marked the dawn of the American century. The Spanish-American War lasted only about 4 months, but transformed the United States from an emerging continental power into an influential overseas empire. But what caused the war? What happened during it? And how did it reshape history? Let's go back to the final years of the 19th century. Chapter 1. The Road to War. Spain, once a mighty empire, had seen its global influence shrink by the late 1800s. However, it still controlled several key colonies, including Cuba, Puerto Rico, Guam, and the Philippines. Cuba, just 90 miles from the U.S. coast, had long been a thorn in Spain's side as Cuban revolutionaries fought for independence. American sympathy grew for the Cuban cause, partly due to yellow journalism, sensationalist reporting by newspapers like those owned by William Randolph Hearst and Joseph Pulitzer. These newspapers exaggerated Spanish atrocities to sell papers and stir public emotion. The spark. The USS Maine. On February 15, 1898, the American battleship USS Maine exploded in Havana Harbor, killing 266 sailors. Though the cause of the explosion remains debated even today, the American press immediately blamed Spain. The phrase, "Remember the Maine, to hell with Spain," became a rallying cry. On April 25, 1898, the United States declared war on Spain. Chapter 2. The war begins. Despite being fought on multiple fronts, the Caribbean and the Pacific, the war was relatively short and one-sided. The Pacific Theater, the Battle of Manila Bay. On May 1, 1898, Commodore George Dewey led the U.S. Navy into Manila Bay in the Philippines. The Spanish fleet was destroyed in hours with minimal American casualties. This stunning victory gave the U.S. control of the Philippines and struck a heavy blow to Spanish pride. The Caribbean Front, the Battle for Cuba. In Cuba, American forces joined Cuban rebels to fight Spanish troops. One of the most famous engagements was the Battle of San Juan Hill, where future U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt led his Rough Riders, a volunteer cavalry regiment, to victory. This battle made Roosevelt a national hero. Meanwhile, the U.S. Navy blockaded Cuba and destroyed the Spanish fleet in the Battle of Santiago de Cuba. Puerto Rico, Guam. U.S. forces also quickly captured Puerto Rico and Guam with little resistance. Spain, already stretched thin, couldn't sustain its colonial holdings.